Right now you have 45 minutes to crack that interview.
Like the goal of solving a system design problem in an interview and the goal of solving an actual system design problem when you're working in your office, it's very different. We have a proper plan on how we approach it and accomplish it. In interviews, our main goal is to stay as much broad as possible. We have that amount of time to do any kind of deep customer research or read any sort of papers. We should focus only on what we already know. Best resources would be like I personally find the AWS docs.
मतलब छोटे से स्टार्ट करना है हमें कि सिस्टम डिज़ाइन कैसे होता है, क्या होता है, सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट्स, पार्टीशनिंग, रेप्लिकेशन, अवेलेबिलिटी क्या है, मेंटेनेबिलिटी क्या है. सो ऑल दोज बेसिक कंसेप्ट सिंपल भाषा में अगर हम समझने की कोशिश करते हैं देन आई थिंक इट्स अ गुड ट्राई टू स्टार्ट विथ. एंड देन एक बार मतलब स्टार्ट हो जाता है तो यू विल डेफिनेटली गेन द कॉन्फिडेंस. हेलो एवरीवन, दिस इज मनदीप सिंह शेखावत एंड टुडे वी हैव अ स्पेशल गेस्ट विद अस, प्रतिमा उपाध्याय. प्रतिमा उपाध्याय के अगर हम छोटा सा इंट्रोडक्शन दूँ मैं, तो Pratima is currently working as SDE2 at Airbnb. She has previously worked at Microsoft और उन्होंने काफ़ी लोगों की हेल्प करी है इन द मेंटरशिप ऑन वेरियस प्लेटफॉर्म्स. तो आज जो अपना वीडियो का स्पेसिफिक डिस्कशन रहने वाला है, इट विल बी फोकस्ड ऑन कि अगर मैं बात करूँ कि इफ़ आई हैव टू कंपेयर माई डिज़ाइनिंग ऑफ सिस्टम्स इन माई डे टू डे लाइफ, इन माई एक्चुअल वर्क, जब मैं काम कर रहा हूँ एज ए सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर, तब मैं बात करता हूँ सिस्टम डिज़ाइन की वर्सेस इफ़ आई डू द सिस्टम डिज़ाइंस इन द इंटरव्यू. कि भाई एक दिन आपके पास 45 मिनट है एंड इफ़ यू डू एक्चुअल जॉब यू माइट हैव 45 days. सो हाउ विल यू कंपेयर दोज? But before moving to our actual discussion, let's have a quick introduction from Pratima. So Pratima, over to you.
Hi Mandeep, thanks for inviting me first of all. And I'm Pratima. I'm currently working as an SDE2 at Airbnb, and prior to this I was working with Microsoft. I graduated from college in 2019, and post that I joined Microsoft. So I have around 3.5 years of experience. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and discuss the problem statement for today.
Yeah, sure. So like the problem statement, as I stated, it will be like you have to design a system. Basically, let's say you have to design any system and you have two options. One is that you are giving an interview for a specific company. Let's say you recently joined Airbnb, so you are giving an interview for Airbnb. Right now you have 45 minutes to crack that interview, like to solve that problem. And in real life system, like right now you have joined the company, so you might be designing some systems, so you will have much more time as compared to those 45 minutes. So what are the basic key areas which differs when you compare these two aspects?
So first and the foremost thing, one of the most important things to understand is that like the goal of solving a system design problem in an interview and the goal of solving an actual system design problem when you're working in your office, it's very different. So the actual purpose in real life system design is that we need to design an effective system, and like we would want to solve whatever problem we are trying to solve using the resources that we are having, the bandwidth that's available to us and to our fellow stakeholders, and by setting a good timeline and making sure that like we are creating a best experience for the end user. But when it comes to the system design interview, our goal is not to design the most efficient or the most effective system, but to showcase our expertise like in a limited time frame. So that would basically make sure that once I start working with the hands-on knowledge of system design that I am having, I should be able to design a real world system. So it's like demonstrating your capabilities in 45 minutes or an hour. Like it's not an easy task. So we need to make sure that we have a proper plan on how we approach it and accomplish it.
So just on the effective system designing, like when we say we don't have to design complete end-to-end effective system, but it might be possible, right, ki the interviewer might be interested in specific component and then we have to optimize it further. Like it will, like as I compare to my day-to-day life system designing, it will be the scenario that the end-to-end system you are designing, all the components which are in the place, all of those systems should be effective and its short system should be fault tolerant. All those things you have to take care of it. But when you are designing in an interview specifically, you might have to specifically focused on a single component.
Yes, exactly. So Yeah, so when it comes to real life system design, it's a completeness factor is very important, because like we can't really release apps with one feature not working. But interviews, when it comes to interviews, like it's always like either you can select a specific components that you want to deep dive into, or the interview will tell you yourself ki either you focus on the DB design, or like you focus on the APIs.
And one more thing, like when we actually design the systems in our day-to-day life, we also have to take care of that I have to actually deploy this application to production, which will be serving the customer traffic, which is not the case in the interviews. So any thoughts on that, like what extra things we have to take care of when we actually design the systems in our day-to-day job?
Yeah. So exactly. So when we are designing a real life system and when we are releasing a feature, we need to make sure that at least the unit testing, or the merge validations, or the integration testings, everything, like they are in place. So testability is one important factor. But when it comes to an interview, since those kind of scenarios, they do not come up, like we just need to have an overall understanding how like we are going to test it.
So it can be possible that interviewer might be interested in that what are the different things you have to take care of, but when we see our day-to-day life, you might have to actually think on those scenarios more, that yeah, this is the unit test, this is the total coverage I have to think of, these are the integration tests that are needed to be set up, or like what all stages which I will have in my pipeline. Okay. So one final point on this, like in the new systems we design as part of our day-to-day life, there can be scenarios that we have to use existing systems which are actually present in your company. Maybe let's say you have to integrate with a notification system, you don't have to design it from scratch. So anything can we correlate it from the interviews, like how it can differ from there?
Yeah. So yeah, this is also one major difference, because in interviews, our main goal is to stay as much broad as possible, and our focus would be to deep dive only into specific areas that you or the interview think would be the most important. But in real life, it's like we need to dig deep into every aspect, and staying broad won't be helpful in such scenarios. So it's like we need to integrate with a larger system, because we are not building anything from scratch in the real world.
Yeah.
Because like when it comes to like adding any new feature, the frameworks, the tech, the DBs, they would already be chosen for you. So, and like, or if you talk about like adding a messaging channel infrastructure or things like that, all those would already be in place. So in real life system design, you don't actually need to go and start building everything from scratch. But in interviews, it's always good that you should have a hands-on knowledge of what are all the things that you need to add and what are the components that I need to leverage on.
Yeah, I think so. Like in interviews, you might be asked that what are the type of load balancers, but if you talk about our real life system design, it's fine if you are not aware of it completely, because my thinking process is like, if you don't know which load balancer to choose, just use application load balancer. If you want to know the differences between them, then there is actually need to know the need. Like there are certain cases that this particular component can be used, like in case of load balancer, right? So okay, I think makes sense. Yeah, I think these are the key differences when we say that when we design the systems in interviews as compared to our real life systems. And I think the main factor is the time only, because we have much more time in our day-to-day job as compared to interviews, because we have a specific time that we have to design this component. And mainly I think can we discuss one more point around the evaluation? If we see that I have to design my system in my day-to-day job versus I am designing a system in the interviews, so can we think of anything around like how I will be evaluated per se? Because like one example could be that in actual life you might be working with a couple of engineers with you, but in interviews you are the only person. So anything on that?
Yeah. So basically, when it comes to like designing a real life feature in real life timelines, like around 3 to 6 months, it's like we have that amount of time to do any kind of deep customer research or read any sort of papers, or even we have the choice of understanding the similar systems in real world. So the thing is, like, we have a lot of time to discuss things with stakeholders, with product managers, with other people who are part of the same project. But in interviews, it's like we should focus only on what we already know, and we would have to pull out the best thing from our head in in the next 40 minutes or so. So it's like in real life system design, we should not really make any sort of assumptions. And the thing is, we have a lot of time to clear those assumptions with multiple stakeholders who are working on the same project. And you can also even ask your product managers to talk with your customer and try to understand what they really want. But in interviews, this is not really possible.
I think, yeah, customer feedback is one important aspect which we get while we actually design the systems, which we might miss in the interviews, because the interviews will be specifically focused on the requirements, like functional or non-functional requirements, which you gather from discussing with the interviewer. But in case of the real life systems, it will be mostly around, like, you are getting the actual feedback, and once you launch, let's say, your first days of application, you can gather the feedback again. So it's a continuous feedback loop, and which I think leads to a better system design and overall product which we are designing.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to add more on this before we move to any tips and tricks which people can follow to crack the system design interviews? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, so the most important thing is that as an interviewee, we need to make decisions that would be best locally for the feature that you're working on. Like, we should not try to dwell too deep into any aspect, because that might eat up a lot of time. So we have to be very we have to be very particular about the time that we are having, and we need to make sure that we are dividing into different components that we want to discuss about. Like, if the interviewer has told you that, okay, I want you to focus on DB design or REST APIs, then you're good to go. Like, you know that you have a direction and you can just focus on that. But many times it happens that the interviewer doesn't really tell you that what he wants you to focus on. So it's like you have to yourself manage the time between different components and give importance to certain different components and talk about everything by not leaving anything out.
I think the key point should be that a person should gather all the data points, like all the requirements, before he is moving or before she is moving into the actual design of that component. Like, if the interviewer is not providing you the details directly, then you should ask the interviewer specifically that, yeah, these are the requirements that I can think of. Do you want to add something on top of it? These are the non-functional requirements that I can think of, and these are the constraints that I can think of. These are the bottlenecks that I can think of. If the interviewer wants to add anything on top of it, then I think it can be part of our initial discussion in the interviews, and then we can carry forward. Let's say we are spending our initial 5 to 10 minutes in gathering the requirements, and then finally whatever requirements we have finalized, on those requirements we can have the actual system design discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so just around the interview preparation strategy, do you want to give any specific tips to people? Like, you recently gave interviews of Airbnb, right? So you might have also appeared for other interviews. You also had experience in Microsoft earlier. So any tips specifically you want to give to the audience that, yeah, these are the tips you should follow in the given situation, and these are the things you should focus on to specifically prepare of your system design interviews, be it LLD or HLD?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the most important thing is that system designs, they are not asked to freshers, but they are asked to you if you have at least 1 year of experience working on designing systems. So there's this misconception that that a lot of freshers are having, that they might be asked system design in the interview. So they get very lost trying to understand that what are all the aspects of system design. So yeah, this is one thing which plays major importance. And so if you started preparing for interviews, right, the most important thing is that you need to be like very clear about all the underlying concepts of distributed systems. Like you need to know what is reliability, what's scalability, what's availability, and you need to know about load balancers, sharding, replication, partitioning, all these things. And it's like you can read about these things from a lot of resources that are available online. I think the best resources would be like I personally find the AWS docs and Azure docs as well very they are like very like descriptive, and they explain it in a very good manner. So the only thing is that if someone is very new to distributed systems, then they might get lost like reading about the different things, because the information, although it's very good, it's not that structured. So for absolute beginners who do not really have prior experience working on distributed systems, or just have started like a month or a year ago, they can actually try out the book System Design Interview by Alex Su, which is, I think, it's a very good resource for people who are just starting into distributed systems, because like it's all the concepts they are mentioned in a very easy manner and in a very easy language. So anyone who even like an absolute beginner who doesn't have any prior experience working on distributed systems, even if they open the book and try reading it, it would be very easy for them to understand it. So the first 3 chapters it covers on all the concepts, and the rest of the chapters are discussing the real life examples. So you also have a playlist on that, right?
Yeah, actually I haven't tried on that system design by Alex Ju. He publishes all those blogs. I read those, but haven't tried that book. Probably I will give it a shot. But I did read designing data intensive application, which I will recommend once you have like a basic understanding. But because you might get lost to.
Yeah. There's a lot of information available in designing data intensive applications, but like it's really good. The book is gold. But you need to have some sort of basic understanding before you can actually go ahead.
Okay. So the way I look at it, I think you can start with some tutorials or like YouTube videos you find. मैंने एक playlist बनाई है. Pratima regularly post on LinkedIn. I will share the handles with you, so you can check out those. तो ऐसे like you can start with those, and then as and when you move on कि मेरे को अभी समझ में आ रहा है, I am developing the understanding of the actual system design. आप खुद सोचना start करो कि भाई मेरे को ये system design करना है. Then what are the key points I have to take consider to, right? अगर आपको एक बार वो समझ में आने लग जाता है, देन यू कैन एक्चुअली मूव टू हायर रिसोर्सेज, जहाँ पे आपको थोड़ा सा अब्स्ट्रैक्ट आउट डिटेल्स मिलेगी या फिर लो लेवल डिटेल्स. जैसे मैं बोलूँ कि मेरे को डेटाबेस डिज़ाइन करना है, देन एट फर्स्ट इफ़ यू स्टार्ट डायरेक्टली विथ कि LSM ट्रीज नाम का कुछ होता है, या फिर मर्कल ट्रीज जैसा कुछ कंसेप्ट होता है डायनेमो के पेपर में जो डिस्क्राइब किया हुआ है. तो ऑल दोज थिंग्स यू डोंट हैव टू डायरेक्टली जंप इन टू इट. मतलब छोटे से स्टार्ट करना है हमें कि सिस्टम डिज़ाइन कैसे होता है, क्या होता है, सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट्स, पार्टीशनिंग, रेप्लिकेशन, अवेलेबिलिटी क्या है, मेंटेनेबिलिटी क्या है. सो ऑल दोज बेसिक कंसेप्ट सिंपल भाषा में अगर हम समझने की कोशिश करते हैं, देन आई थिंक इट्स अ गुड ट्राई टू स्टार्ट विथ. एंड देन एक बार मतलब स्टार्ट हो जाता है तो यू विल डेफिनेटली गेन द कॉन्फिडेंस. या one more thing around like this is more around the HLD, like high level design concepts. Anything specific we should take into consideration when I'm preparing from low level design? Like what are the key points? Because in general companies have that one coding round or machine coding round, or in general they might have those DBs rounds where we try to discuss low level details of DB, like how this should be designed, how will it be scalable. So anything, any specific resources or any points to keep in mind for preparing LLD?
So for low level design, right, the most important thing is getting your fundamentals on OOPs cleared, because like the main objective of low level design is that the candidate should be able to like design either a class diagram or a working system from the requirements that are presented to you. So say like the requirements of Book My Issue are presented to you in plain English, then you should know how to convert those requirements into classes and functions, and also connect those classes based on OOP fundamentals like inheritance, generalization, aggregation. So once you are able to create that skeleton of the entire system, then it would be very easy for you to actually write down the code for the different classes, and then write down the functions which are available. So yeah, so this is one basic thing.
Any resources you want to recommend around, like you might have read something or you might have followed something?
Yeah, So for LLD, I actually, got a course from Geeks for Geeks. I didn't find any good resources online. So yeah, there are some YouTube channels which you can actually try it out. But to be honest, like I was not finding any structured content related to that. So what I did was I made sure that I'm well versed with the OOP fundamentals, because these are all the things that you need to actually apply while making, like, translating the system requirements into class diagrams.
Yeah, I think that helps. So I think that's the main discussion we want to have today. Probably we will connect in future again around like any more topics around system design, or we might actually design some systems in our discussions. So thanks for being on the channel and like spending some time with me around the discussion. This will be definitely helpful to all the audience who are watching these videos. And do check out all the social handles. I will share it with you of Pratima. You can follow her. She regularly publishes content on system design on LinkedIn. You can find out those blogs. They are really interesting, and they will help you to start your journey in the system design. So till then, stay safe. Tata. Bye bye.